The Halo series is a fairly accessible video game series, except when it isn't. The Halo series can be one of the toughest and extremely unforgiving games when it wants to be. I wanted to make a video talking about what I think are the top 10 hardest levels in the original Halo trilogy, so that's Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, and Halo 3. I chose to only do the first 3 Halo games because I'm just not that familiar with 343's Halo games, and the first 3 Halos feel the most similar to each other in terms of design. I'm basing my decisions off each game's legendary difficulty, and I'm also basing this ranking off of each level's intended paths that you're supposed to take. So no rooftop hopping, no keys flood bumping, none of that monkey business in here. We're playing each level exactly how Marty intended it. Starting off at number 10, that's how most top 10 countdowns usually work, we've got Outskirts. There's pretty much one reason why this level is on this list, and if you've played it, you know exactly what it is. Sniper Alley, baby. This is where Halo 2 introduces us to the most cracked enemy known to mankind, the Jackal Snipers. These guys are relentless. When you enter the line of sight of them, you've got about 1 second to either kill it or get to cover before you're dead, and this alleyway is filled with them. Between fighting both ground and air-based enemies, you also have to stay aware of where the snipers are at all times as you progress through the alley. You'll be fighting a group of elites and grunts, and before you even know it, you've been sniped in the head by a jackal. You've also got invisible elites in this area, because why not? And even the regular elites and grunts can be hard to deal with at times. Number 9, Truth and Reconciliation. I used to find this level impossible on Legendary, but as I've gotten better, I've realized it's not too bad. The hardest section is definitely the big hangar. You're getting shot from so many different angles, there's enemies on the upper levels shooting down at you, and more keep on spawning on different ends of the hangar, so you're constantly trying to stay on the move as more and more Covenant pour in from every direction. The main saving grace here is the sniper rifle. Pair it with a plasma pistol and you're in a really good spot. Just whatever you do, do not drop the sniper somewhere and leave it. The Gravelift fight can get out of hand pretty quickly if you let it, but it is fairly manageable with some well-timed grenades. I think the difficulty of Truth and Rec comes from just the sheer quantity of enemies that keep coming in. There are so many sections where it just feels like they're never ending. It can feel really overwhelming in certain sections, especially within the ship itself, as you're just getting pelted from multiple directions. Number 8, Cairo Station. Halo 2's Legendary doesn't mess around, and its opening mission is no exception. There are so many elites throughout the level, and they are just unforgiving. The second hangar will show you exactly that. On Legendary, the Elite's plasma rifles will totally melt your shields even at long range, so during the hangar sections you have to fight off multiple waves of Elites and Grunts where you can get gunned down within seconds if they choose to target you over your teammates. Pretty much your only strategy is to overcharge their shields with the plasma pistol and then finish them with a headshot, but even then it can be pretty difficult when 3 elites start firing at you the moment you pop your head out. Most encounters in this level are fairly difficult, mainly due to the aggression of the elites and how quickly they can kill you. Besides the hangar, there isn't any other standout sections, it's just overall a very tough level. Number 7, Quarantine Zone. The first half of this level is a straight driving section. There is an element of what I like to call random bullshit that can happen, like being one-shot by the Gorsehog, being one-shot by a tank, being melted by one of the large sentinels. Aside from the abrupt deaths that can happen occasionally, the driving section isn't too difficult. It's when you get to this godforsaken gondola, everything ramps up. First of all, you're given 4 elite teammates to help you out. I don't know if I'm extremely unlucky or what, but every single time I've ever played Quarantine Zone, my teammates are just bugged out and will just stand there doing nothing. The real challenge here is a mixture of Halo 2's Flood being extremely overtuned and just terrible checkpoints. You'll fight for your life against multiple hordes of Flood for minutes on end, just to get smacked from behind or shotgunned in the face, even though I was literally lunging towards him with an energy sword and he wasn't even looking in my direction, and now I'm 5 minutes back. How is that fair? Man, fuck this gondola. And I do know you can hide in the gondola and ride it all the way to the end, but what would Marty say if he saw you doing that? That's not the intended way to play. Number 6, the Library. The Library is notorious for kicking almost everyone's ass on their first playthrough. And fun fact, when I was about 10 years old, this level was actually 3 hours long. There's a couple holdout sections where you're left to defend yourself for minutes at a time while the Flood just keep flooding in. These sections can be pretty chaotic until Guilty Spark finally opens the door and you're back to running. Aside from the holdout sections, most of the level involves running and gunning, which is a ton of fun, but if you're not too familiar with the spawns, it can leave you getting caught off guard by a group of flood just jumping you. There's also a lot of open areas with little amounts of cover, which typically leads to you just getting shot by different flood that slowly chip away at your shields and health until you're dead. You'll definitely want to pick up a shotgun as soon as possible and make sure you're always stocked up on grenades for large groups or when you're getting overwhelmed. Number 5, keys. Man, this level is just chaos all the way through. The whole goo area is pretty crazy. You're basically thrown into the middle of a close combat battlefield between the Covenant and Flood as you're just trying to casually run past all of it. Just like the holdout sections in the library, the Flood can easily overrun you if you let them, due to the nature of them spawning so frequently and in high numbers. This gets even harder to manage once you're inside the ship. I don't actually know if there are infinite spawns in this level, but it sure feels like it. There are certain hallways that feel like the enemies just start coming and they don't stop coming, fed to the rules and I hit the ground running. The other thing that makes keys so difficult is just the sheer amount of explosions. All you need is a dead grunt to drop a few plasma grenades on the floor, and you have a tactical nuke-sized trip mine just waiting to be set off. Right at the end of the level, there's a bunch of spec op grunts who come in who carry fuel rod cannons, because, you know, we really needed more explosions in this level. At number 4, Cortana, which is our first Halo 3 entry for this list, and it also marks the first crash out I had recording the footage for this video. These long-range flood forms make Cortana so difficult. They're so good at positioning themselves very far away from you where they can just pelt you with shots while also tanking any shots you send back at them. This spiral room can be a nightmare when you're being targeted by 2 or more of them, all while parkouring and fighting the other combat forms. This weird web hallway can be pretty tough both times you have to run through it as well, but it was the reactor section that gave me the most grief. You're getting shot from like every single direction. There's brute shots, there's melee guys, there's the ranged fuckers, of course. There's also almost no cover whatsoever in the middle, so you really need to utilize the bubble shield to get some form of safety. The run back to the Pelican, the reactor room, the web tunnel, and this room all offer pretty tough encounters, some of which you can run past, and others where you'll have to fight your way through. And even then, there's a decent chance you'll just get backsmacked, shot at, blown up, blown down, or just swarmed in your efforts of escaping. Kicking off the top 3, we've got a banger, 2 Betrayals. The first main fight takes place in a giant room with basically no cover, and wouldn't you know it, we're given 2 weapons that just suck at long range. This room in my mind is one of, if not the single hardest encounter in all of Combat Evolved. Right after that, you've got another open area with minimal cover. The fight as soon as the door opens and as you make your way down the pyramid feel very challenging. There's a lot of elites here and they excel at long range. And someone needs to tell me if this is a skill issue or not, because it legit takes me like 25 minutes to get to the Banshee every single time I play this level. I just fucking stuck myself. When you get to the Flood is where the difficulty really ramps up. There's multiple interior fights where the Flood are in big groups and they just tear through everything. The 2 bridges are also very tough as you're getting shot by literally everything on the whole Halo ring all at once while just trying to cross both these bridges. Managing health and ammo actually becomes very apparent on 2 Betrayals, especially given how long the level is. You begin to run low on everything towards the final sections. Number 2, Regret. Everybody say welcome back to the Jackal Snipers! This first courtyard is filled with a bunch of them, and if you're not familiar with their spawns, they will put you in the spin cycle. There's a ton of long lines of sight, so you can easily get picked off as you progress around the outside, round the outside. Once you get to the middle courtyard, you're rewarded with more Jackal Snipers, followed by some elites and a pair of hunters to fight. About halfway through the level we get to this room, which is filled with, yep, you guessed it, more Jackal Snipers, and is extremely dark. This room is so overtuned it is insane. It's filled with Jackal Snipers that are so hard to see. On top of that, there are multiple waves of honor guard elites and 2 hunters that spawn in as you make your way through. Other than that, the gondola fights can result in very quick deaths, and in general all other encounters can be tricky, like right before and after both water elevators. Even if you look past all that, the main kicker is the Regret boss fight at the end. This boss fight is so unfair and legendary. You have to board Regret 5 times without a checkpoint, all while being shot at and chased by other enemies. There are so many times where I board him and after meleeing him he'll just drop me onto an elite with dual plasma rifles who melts me in under a second. or you get dropped and receive an energy sword through the back before your feet have even touched the ground. The fact that the enemies infinitely respawn, there's no checkpoints mid-fight, mixed in with regret dropping you into bad spots constantly, makes this boss fight feel nearly impossible and legendary, and overall this level is just crazy hard. And at number 1 we've got Gravemind. Yep, I'm pretty sure most of you saw this one coming. As soon as the level starts, straight up one of the hardest encounters of the series. Most encounters in the Halo series are well thought out in terms of level design and the tools the player is given, but I genuinely have no clue what Bungie expects you to do here. I mean, you literally start the level getting shot and oftentimes will just die straight away. My strategy is usually to grab a needler or two as soon as possible and cower away in one of the corners. If you manage to survive the first few waves, grab a carbine and you should be good from there, but you'll still have to play pretty cautiously as the brutes are quite aggressive. A little later on, you'll get to the infamous prison section. Right as you're dropped off by the lift, you're put into another open area with enemies on every side of you. You usually have to make a mad dash to find some cover as soon as you land, but even when you've got to cover, you're not safe as the enemies in here will push in on your location. There's a decent amount of extra waves that come in as you make your way through the prison, and if you get really unlucky, can have enemies coming at you from 2 different directions, which is almost a guaranteed death sentence. Aside from the prison and the opening room, there's not another single room that I'd consider a standout, but it's just like every single fight in Gravemind is hard. Even some of these hallway fights, which would typically be more of a throwaway encounter, are just brutal. Every single room on Gravemind feels like you're fighting for your life. Canonically, it makes a ton of sense for this level to be extremely difficult, and it is one of my favorite levels of the series in general, but holy shit will it kick your ass so hard. Pretty much every time I play Gravemind, it takes me well over an hour and leaves me stressed and exhausted, but I still love it. And that's my top 10 hardest levels from the original Halo trilogy. Even though all these levels are quite difficult, I still consider a lot of them to be some of my favorites from the series. I'd love to hear your opinions as well, so let me know in the comments some of your hardest levels from the original trilogy or any other game in the series. If you did enjoy the video, consider leaving a like or even subscribing, and thank you so much for watching.